Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, June 2nd, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gyan. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. Vaccine rollout strategies appear to be paying off as the UK marked a significant milestone Tuesday, reporting no new daily COVID-19 deaths. Israel, which was quick to roll out vaccines, has become one of the few countries to return to a degree of normalcy. South Korea's consumer prices grew 2.6% on year in May, the fastest pace in more than 9 years due to higher prices of farm and oil products. And BTS set another historic milestone by hitting the top spot on Billboard's main singles chart in the U.S. with their latest single, Butter. Today marks the 500th day since South Korea reported its first COVID-19 case. And the nation is still seeing new infections with 677 cases reported on Wednesday. Of the new cases, all but 23 were locally transmitted. 2 more people have died of the virus, bringing the death toll to 1,965. The total caseload now stands at over 140,000. As for vaccinations, nearly 2.2 million people have been fully vaccinated as of this morning. Another 650,000 doses of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, enough for 325,000 people, have arrived here in South Korea. According to officials, the batch accounts for a portion of the vaccines purchased directly from the U.S. pharmaceutical giant. With the shipment, which has arrived early Wednesday morning, South Korea has now been supplied with 4.4 million doses out of 7 million scheduled to arrive within the first half of the year. Pfizer shots are being administered to people over 75 and essential social workers under 30 who are not eligible for the AstraZeneca shots due to the risk of blood clots. Health authorities in South Korea have closed its first phase of reservations for Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine. Military-related personnel have signed up for all 900,000 shots on offer. This is the majority of 1 million doses donated by the U.S. Chang Tae-hyun tells us more.
In less than 16 hours since registration began, 800,000 of the 1 million Janssen vaccine doses provided by the U.S. to South Korea have been reserved. The first round of registration opened at 12 a.m. Tuesday, and the second round of another 100,000 doses at 4:30 p.m. The Janssen vaccines were initially set aside for all military-related personnel over the age of 30 for inoculations to be administered between the 10th and 20th of June. But health authorities say that because 5 people can be vaccinated per 1 vial, they're trying to make sure none go to waste. If there are any left over, a decision will be made on how to use them. But there are specific reasons why people want the one-shot Janssen vaccine.
We're going to get vaccinated anyway, so I thought the faster the better for both family and myself. It only took 3 minutes to make a reservation, and I could select the date, time, and location I wanted.
After getting the first shot done, we'll be able to go overseas without 2 weeks of mandatory quarantine period. So that's the main rationale behind my selection towards the Janssen vaccination.
As well as the Janssen vaccine, South Korea is speeding up its inoculation program.
As of Tuesday, over 5.79 million people, which is about 11.3% of South Korea's population, have received the first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine.
Starting from June 15th, the country will start giving the Pfizer vaccine to police officers, firefighters, and workers at high-risk facilities. Reservations will begin on June 7th. This group was originally supposed to receive the AstraZeneca vaccine, but were excluded due to rare blood clots among those under 30. The AstraZeneca vaccine reservation rate for people aged 60 to 74 is at 72.3%. Health authorities added that the first analysis conducted in the country's nursing facilities shows that AstraZeneca is 90% effective against the UK variant. Meanwhile, the first batch of Moderna vaccines, a total of 55,000 doses, arrived in South Korea on Tuesday. Chang Tae-hyun, Arirang News.
People in South Korea who received at least one dose of the vaccine are now exempt from select restrictions. First, they can visit loved ones at nursing care centers and hospitals without barriers to physical contact. And officials say there will be more incentives to encourage people to get the shots. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
She can't hold back her tears. 15 months since she's held the hands of her husband. COVID-19 has been especially tough on her, visits restricted and separated by plexiglass. There were reunions like this across Korea on Tuesday at nursing care centers and hospitals after the government started allowing face-to-face visits with physical contact if one of the two parties is fully vaccinated.
There are patients who are depressed and emotionally unstable. They have insomnia and other problems. With visits that allow contact, we expect issues like these to be resolved.
This is not the only restriction that's been eased. Fully vaccinated people can also attend singing classes and take their masks off there. In South Korea, 2.1 million people have received both doses. There are also benefits for those who received just their first dose. They can meet with a bigger group of family members because they won't count toward the 8-person limit. Community centers for seniors will reopen as well for people who've gotten at least one dose. In other ways too, the government is trying to motivate people to get vaccinated because some are still worried about safety.
In addition, anyone who gets vaccinated will get other benefits such as discounts on tickets to public facilities like parks and theaters.
By July, the health authorities hope to have given first doses to at least 14 million people, which would be a quarter of the population. At that point, there will be other rules eased. For example, people with at least the first shot will be able to take their masks off outdoors. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
For the first time since the pandemic slammed the nation with full force, the UK marked a significant milestone on Tuesday, reporting no new daily COVID-19 deaths. Further afield, Israel's speedy vaccine rollout has made it one of the few countries to return to a degree of normalcy. Kim Hyo-san reports.
0 was the number of COVID-19 deaths the UK announced on Tuesday for the first time since March last year. The country's health secretary said the whole country will be delighted to hear the news, adding that the vaccines are clearly working. Nevertheless, he continued to ask for vigilance. The UK still reported over 3,100 new infections on Tuesday amid lingering concerns over the spread of the new variant first identified in India. The UK was the world's first to roll out COVID-19 vaccines, and nearly half of its adult population have now received both shots. With this, the country is considering whether to end all COVID-19 restrictions on June 21st. In the U.S., CNN says average daily infections over the past week dropped below the 20,000 mark for the first time in around 14 months. CNN called it a stunning milestone, considering the daily tally peaked at around 300,000 in early January. It added the U.S. is now moving in the right direction, fully utilizing a powerful ally in the battle against the pandemic, vaccines. Over half of the country's population has received at least one dose, and more than 40% are now fully vaccinated. Also witnessing the effects of mass vaccination, Israel is inching closer to lifting all COVID-19 restrictions.
We now in 1st June is opening Israel again. I mean to say, after quarantines and close downs and all the restrictions we've been experienced, now we are opening all the activity in Israel and no more Green Pass.
Israel only maintains a requirement to wear face masks indoors. The country has vaccinated most of its 9.3 million population with a speedy vaccination drive. Kim Hyo-san, Arirang News.
South Korea's consumer prices in May recorded their biggest jump in 9 years. Statistics Korea said on Wednesday that the country's consumer price index stood at 107.46 last month, up 2.6% compared to the same period the previous year. Now, this is the largest growth since April 2012. The increase was largely driven by a steep rise in oil prices, which went up by over 23%, leading to a 3.1% on-year rise in the price of petroleum products. Agricultural, livestock, and fisheries product prices also rose by 12% due to poor harvest and bird flu. The price of green onions soared by 130%, while the price of eggs rose 45%. OPEC and its allied producing countries known as OPEC Plus have confirmed they will hike crude output through July. During an online meeting Tuesday, they agreed to add another 2.1 million barrels of crude a day to their output from May to July. As part of these plans, Saudi Arabia is gradually adding 1 million barrels after some voluntary cuts previously made. The decision comes as the recovery in the U.S., Europe, and Asia is expected to boost demand in the second half of the year as people start traveling again. A test version of South Korea's first locally developed space rocket has been revealed to the public. With its first test launch planned for this year, the rocket will play an important role in South Korea's mission of sending a spacecraft to the moon before the decade is out. Beunji reports.
South Korea has unveiled a test version of Nuri, its first locally developed space rocket, with the aim of launching it in October this year. It was developed by the Korea Aerospace Research Institute. On Tuesday, it was moved to the launch pad at the Naro Space Center in Gohongun County, just off the southern coast.
Because of its size and weight, the rocket was pretty difficult to move. But I would say that today's process went according to plan.
Nuri will undergo testing for about a month in a total of 5 stages. First, the rocket is moved to the launch pad using a transporter vehicle and set upright using an erector vehicle, as was done on Tuesday. Next, the engineers connected to what they call the launch pad's umbilical cords, which enable the flow of liquids, gases, electric power, and signals to the spacecraft. Then the rocket's fuel tank is filled, and the launch pad's platform and umbilical cords are removed. Finally, the rocket is detached from the transporter and erector. When all of these procedures are complete, it's ready for liftoff. The entire process from building the launch pad to making the space vehicle itself was developed using only South Korean technology. In 2013, the country successfully launched a space rocket called Naro, but its first stage was built in Russia. If the launch of Nuri is successful, that will make South Korea the 7th country in the world to have its own space rocket. Nuri will carry a mock payload in October, ahead of its first flight next May when it will be carrying a 200-kilogram satellite. 배은지, Arirang News.
BTS has done it yet again, setting another historic milestone in their already glittering music career. The K-pop band have shot straight to #1 in Billboard's main singles chart in the U.S. with their latest single, Butter. Our Lee Seung-jae has the story.
Smooth like butter, BTS has landed another single atop the Billboard Hot 100. The group's latest single, Butter, debuted at the peak of Billboard's main singles chart, garnering 32.2 million streams and selling almost 243,000 downloads in the week ending May 27th. It marks the group's third #1 debut on the industry's most influential music chart, having done so with Dynamite and Life Goes On in 2020. While Dynamite made history by helping BTS become the first Korean act to debut at the top of the chart, the group is now the only group in history with multiple #1 debuts on the Hot 100 chart. And it seems like BTS is expanding its fan base as time goes by, as Butter is already surpassing records set by Dynamite. The latest track racked up 20.9 million streams on the first day of its release on Spotify, marking the most streams of a single in the streaming service's history. Butter also racked up 108.2 million views on YouTube in its first 24 hours, breaking the previous record set by Dynamite at 101.1 million views. Released on May 21st and performed for the first time during the Billboard Music Awards a few days later, BTS say they hope Butter gives off some good vibes during the pandemic. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea has recently seen several ibises newly born in the wild for the first time in over 4 decades. The nation now plans to reinforce its project to establish more wildfire habitats for the birds. Our Cho Sang-min has more.
The eggs of 2 crested ibises, a species of bird which were thought to have been long extinct in South Korea, have hatched in the wild in the southern part of the nation. This is the first time an ibis was born in the wild in South Korea since 1979, when some were spotted in the demilitarized zone. 2 pairs of birds have given birth to a total of 3 nestlings, and residents of Changyeong County in Gyeongsangnam-do Province have expressed their excitement.
The ibises have returned again this year. It's great that we have newborns. We're taking extra care and using less pesticides on our farms.
In 2003, Changyeong County kicked off a special project to foster and restore ibis habitats. And over the last 2 years, the project has released some 80 birds brought in from China into the wild. Experts say the latest breakthrough was achieved thanks to the cooperation of the villagers.
The residents played an active role in protecting and making a livable environment for the ibises.
According to experts, released ibises show a 62.5% survival rate. The county said it plans to raise the survival rate by putting together a special monitoring team of some 300 experts and by expanding the project moving forward. Jo Sang-min, Arirang News.
Welcome. It's time for The World Now, bringing you some of the most interesting news from around the globe. I'm Ji-young. Sailing on a private yacht may well be one dreamy option to escape the realities and uncertainties brought about by COVID-19. Fueled by the improving pandemic situation in Croatia in the last few weeks, Croatian yacht charter companies have seen a strong rise in reservations in the July to September period. And there are some tourists who have already arrived on the Croatian coast.
We love sailing, and during the pandemic it makes a lot of sense because you somewhat isolated and you have all this freedom to enjoy, and yachting in Croatia makes 100% number one choice for us in terms of picking our vacation.
Yachting holidays account for a big portion of Croatian tourism, but the industry was hammered last year when the pandemic crippled global leisure travel. Many boat owners and yacht charter companies were unable to survive, with cost of keeping a sailing boat at around $36,000 annually. A head of bookings at Croatia Yachting said the amount of reservations heavily depends on travel restrictions. With summer about to kick off, how about swimming in a pool between 2 skyscrapers? If you ever get a chance to dip, you probably wouldn't want to look down because it's transparent. The world's first floating pool, suspended more than 100 feet above ground level, is open in the UK. As Britain had its warmest day of the year so far on Monday, some Londoners were spotted at the pool taking in the city's iconic skyline views, including the London Eye and the House of Parliament, while they swam. The pool, located near the U.S. Embassy, is about 10 feet deep and reportedly filled with 375 tons of water. This is not a scene from the movie Fast and Furious. Italian driver Fabio Barone beat his own speed record, braving the dangerous panoramic road of Maratea in southern Italy. In a red Ferrari F8 Tributo, he drove the 3 kilometers of hazardous hairpin bends and curves in just about 1 minute 29 seconds. This is his 4th time breaking the world speed record. Barone is taking on another unprecedented challenge on July 16, attempting to complete a drive to Norway's North Cape from Italy in less than 49 hours while complying with speed limits.
Good morning. Summer heat is stored nationwide, and those of us in central regions will notice a big rise in the highs today. Seoul will be getting up to 29 degrees Celsius by the afternoon, and it's going to be even hotter over in Daegu. And there will be sunny skies across the country with very high UV rays in most parts. But there is also a slim chance of sporadic rain in Chungcheongbuk-do and Gyeongsang-Buk-do provinces during the day today. Daily highs will hover around 30 degrees Celsius in most regions, and Gwangju, Gyeongju, and Chuncheon will all get up to 30 degrees this afternoon, while Jeju Island will start to see rain from tonight. And that rain will spread nationwide tomorrow, and Jeju will receive the most amount of rainfall this time, while Seoul will also have a rainy afternoon on Thursday. But brighter skies return on Friday for most areas, and a sunny weekend is in the forecast for us. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.